I would describe alternatives to suspension as alternative consequences. It's definitely not lack of consequence. It's changing what that consequence is. So there's so many benefits to moving away from harsh punishments to alternatives to suspension. First and foremost, I think, is keeping kids in school. It's really disruptive to their academic success to be out of school for 10 days. It takes a while to make up that work.
When students are invested in their learning and they're invested in school, they're more likely going to come to school. And when they're at school, they're less likely to use substances.
And we know when kids are removed from a structured routine, such as school, it gives them more opportunity to engage in high-risk behaviors, such as, maybe they're just sitting home playing video games, vaping, smoking weed, and then they get so far behind, and then they feel like, what's the point?
And research shows that school connectedness, positive adult relationships, and clear expectations and boundaries are all protective factors that can prevent risky behavior.
When schools adopt policies related to alternative forms of discipline, this allows students to remain in school. It provides access to protective factors against risky behaviors, but it also allows access to early interventions that might be offered in school and out of school.
So when students are suspected of vaping, our first conversations we have are with the students. After that, then we reach out to parents. Having a connection with parents is super beneficial.
Substance use disorder is a lonely disease, and taking them out of a healthy routine such as school, a structured routine where there's a lot of safe adults, a lot of peers, it only isolates them more.
Our approach really has changed the way that students are able to ask for help and get connected with whatever resources they need.
So what happened at that time was the community came together in a very careful and thoughtful process with many stakeholders in the community to take a look at what are our values, what are our concerns. And together we wrote the policy on substance use, offering this alternative to suspension as a community-based program, but being in the schools allowed us to build this trust between the schools and these community programs of how do we work together? How do we solve these problems together? It's a confidential group session, so they're able to feel like they can talk openly about maybe their own vaping. We were able to start pulling in other key people, so asking the restorative justice program that we have in our community, bringing them in, so they created this in-school suspension room. Instead, it's now the Restorative Learning Center.
When students are suspended, we try our best to keep them in school. We do have in-school suspension, but are moving away from the exclusionary discipline model and bringing in restorative practices.
What if we changed the focus from in-school suspension and out-of-school suspension, and we converted it into restorative learning? After all, we're in a school environment.
Restorative justice is less of a focus on the rule that was broken and more of a focus on healing.
This is social emotional learning that promotes accountability and empathy. And what parent, what school administration, what community would not want to be part of a learning process that's reinforcing these values?
We're starting to see trends in the school culture and climate that, again, students are relating differently to each other. Students are using restorative language. Students are seeking out supports. If they have a conflict, they're asking for help.
When we are sending kids home and adding multiple days of suspension, we're not even just, one, keeping them out of school, and now we're potentially having almost that snowball effect of grades to not being in sports and being engaged in their community. A lot of the times, there's kind of that labeling effect that then the kids themselves start feeling worse about themselves. They feel like nobody cares, nobody wants to help them.
And we don't have it all figured out. And so there have been challenges. One of them being like, what do we do with our students who have gone through the programming that we've set up for them and they're still in the throes of active addiction to nicotine?
We know that punitive measures by themselves don't offer any opportunity to learn and grow. So we see discipline as sort of a doorway to now be able to work with the student. So when we do these alternative suspensions, whether it's for tobacco or it's for even just acting out in class, we're adding so much more to giving them that community presence of that, no, we're here for you and we want to help you. Something happened and we need to fix that. But it's also, we want you to keep succeeding and want you to feel more empowered. Our youth are in the stage of life where mistakes are going to happen. They're learning how to navigate in the world. And I think that teaching them that mistakes are okay and this is how you come back from them is really, really important.
So if we can keep kids in school, keep them connected with safe adults, peers, we have the potential to save lives. If we can be different, if we can include these kids, if we can provide a learning opportunity, it can change everything to change their future.